All right, so it is 7:05, and I want to honor your time. We have an hour, and we have a lot to pack in to this hour. So wherever you are here and now in this moment, let us take a deep breath. We're going to start with a word of prayer. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as we feel ourselves, wherever we are, feeling our feet on the ground, feeling the seat that is holding us, I stand in the recognition and awareness that here and now in this moment is all the power, all the love, all the joy, all the beauty, all the freedom, all the ease, and all of the possibility that could ever exist in any point in time is here now. I recognize that that thing is not a person, it is not a place, but it is a reality. It is an invisible intelligence that can become anything and everything at any time that I need it to be. In this moment, I'm choosing to call that thing Mother, Father, God, but I know it as source, I know it as life, I know it as the universe, and I know that it is not concerned by the name that I call it, but simply that I recognize its power and its presence. And as I recognize its power and its presence, I remember that I am one with it. I know that I am the very thought in its mind that brought me into being. And as I know this is true of myself, I know that is absolutely true of each and every one of my brothers and sisters that are here in this space, in this place, as we are connecting together in this moment to learn something, to hear something, to grow, to evolve, to come into a deeper and greater awareness of the power that we possess and who and what we are as the Christ consciousness lives within us. And so as we recognize who and what we are, we now set the intention that we will expand as a result of this hour together. We set the intention that we will not leave this space the same way that we came into it. We set the intention that we will come into a greater awareness of ourselves, our highest selves, and we will choose to live as Christ beings here on this earth with greater power and with greater presence. For this, I am so very grateful. I release this word now, and together we say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. And so it is. And so in this moment, I see that we have a few more people that have joined us. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And it's so good to be here with you. So the first thing that I want to do, if you don't already know, what are we doing tonight? Well, of course, today is Good Friday. Today is the day that we mark the story of Jesus, which started on this past Sunday, Palm Sunday, with his triumphant entrance into Jerusalem. We then come to the end of the week on Friday, and by Friday, he has been crucified. And based on some people's minds at that time, all was lost. It seemed like the worst possible thing that could happen. And so what I would love to do, and it's something that's done and throughout the Christian community, all throughout the world, is on Good Friday, during the Good Friday service, we have the reading of the 7 last words, and many times also a teaching and looking at what the 7 last words really mean. And so I thought it would be awesome and wonderful, and this is an idea that's been on my mind for many years, even before the creation of Celebration Spiritual Center, to do a teaching on Good Friday from a metaphysical perspective. And so we're going to take the 7 last words, or really 7 last sayings of Jesus, and that come to us from the book of Luke, that come to us from the book of John, and also Matthew and Mark, although primarily Luke and John is where we get the 7 last sayings. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. The one thing I will say first and foremost is that when we're looking at these 7 last sayings, what this is a blueprint. And I believe it's actually a blueprint for living. It's a blueprint for what I call victorious living. And so we can take this experience and take these 7 sayings that are said and uttered in the midst of extreme conditions, in the midst of execution. If it was our modern day time, this would take place while in the gas chamber, or this would take place while on the electric chair, right? So we're talking about a very intense moment and a very intense scene. But of course, all of this is metaphorical, and all of this represents something about our own lives and our own possibility in life. So before we get a little deeper into that, let me go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the slides that we put together. Um, and let's see, we'll share the entire screen. It was interesting, and I wanted to make sure that I shared this. It's just 3 texts that I think can absolutely transform your perspective on Jesus. Whether you grew up Christian or were raised in a Christian home, or whether you've really had a contentious relationship with Jesus, these are 3 books that I think can be very helpful. I can't say that these 3 books will necessarily say everything that I'm talking about tonight. But again, I think it'll be helpful and help you to begin to develop your own insights and your own downloads around it. So the first one is by a awesome New Thought scholar and teacher, Marcus Borg, who his work and his writings were incredibly influential for me as I began to develop my own theological perspective. Meeting Jesus Again for the First Time is a classic work, and something that I recommend anyone read, particularly if you're looking to develop another perspective on Jesus and your relationship with Jesus. Secondly, there is Jesus, The Explosive Story of the 30 Lost Years and the Ancient Mystery Religions by Tricia McCannon. Now, this takes us into the mystical thought and ideas about Jesus, and may seem radical to some people, but I know for all of you that are here, this is a book that will be incredibly beneficial, because what it talks about is the recognition that across every culture on this planet, there's always been a mystery to tradition, and there's always been a process that each initiate had to go through. And while some of the symbols may have looked a little different at face value, underneath it, it was all the same symbol, and it all points back to Egypt, actually, ancient Kemet. And so she talks a lot and writes a lot about sort of the process of Jesus becoming Jesus. We don't hear much about that. We have the beginning of the story of, the no room in the inn, Bethlehem, he's born, the wise men, all of that good stuff. And then he has to, his parents, Joseph and Mary, take him down to Egypt to avoid being killed. And then you don't really hear much until his reemergence, when he finds his first cousin, John the Baptist, and he's baptized. The dove descends. This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. We have the temptation, and then we have these 3 miraculous years of ministry. So this book helps us to understand a lot. It talks about Jesus's time in India. If you've listened to me for a while, then you know about Saint Isa, and how Jesus had to learn from the East, and really a lot of what we see as his power really came from that tradition. Him learning to meditate came from that tradition. And then finally is A Course in Miracles, which of course is a book and a text that we teach from almost every week at Celebration Spiritual Center. But I absolutely know that you will develop a new relationship with Jesus as a result of hearing the voice of Jesus in A Course in Miracles, which is unlike anything you may have heard in the past. So get those at your leisure, add them to your library. I guarantee it's something that will benefit you. So we start with the first saying, and the first saying is found in the book of Luke 23, verse 34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, let's first let me back up for a second, because let's understand what we're talking about, right? Again, as I said, he's on the cross. He's experiencing what the equivalent in our modern day society would be if he was in an electric chair or in a gas chamber, falsely accused, and all of, betrayed, all of these things that happened. But what we must understand about this, as it is a metaphor for our life, what I recognize is that each and every one of us have cross experiences. And a cross experience is simply any unwanted or seemingly unwelcome thing, right? Any experience in your life where it's like, oh no, I'm about to be evicted. That's a cross experience. Oh no, I don't have enough money to do the things that I need to do. That's a cross experience. Oh no, I just got divorced again for the 12th time. Oh no, I'm experiencing a terrible breakup. Oh no, I was just laid off from my job. Any situation that seems huge to you, that seems big, that seems overwhelming, and that feels unwanted is a cross experience. And so the reason why I say that this is a blueprint for living and for victorious living is because I recognize that each of us will have cross experiences. But the promise of the cross experience in our life is it is an opportunity for us to reveal, uncover, awaken, resurrect the Christ that's within us. We are never being tested by these situations, but what each and every situation is an opportunity for us to uncover that greatness that's within us. Many times we've heard it said, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that adversity is what makes you, teaches you perseverance and makes you stronger. It is not true. That is not what it's doing. Each and every unwanted experience is saying, show up, come forth. There is power within you. There is a Christ within you. There is something greater than this circumstance within you. Reveal it, right? And so that's why this metaphor of the cross and resurrection is so beautiful, because what happens on the cross is Jesus is killed and the Christ is resurrected. The Christ is the power. The Christ is the thing that knows all, sees all, and can overcome all. And so every adverse situation in your life, any adverse situation that you're experiencing right now, is calling forth the Christ within you. That's all. It's not testing you. Okay, so so as we understand that, then we must also understand that Jesus understood this very, very clearly. Because one of the things that happens as he is betrayed by Jesus, and I use that word with hesitation, but of course that's how we know the story. As he is betrayed by Judas, what we experience is Jesus saying something powerful. He says, "Come, friend." The disciples tried to defend him. The disciples were upset. They didn't want him to be arrested. But Jesus says, "Come, friend." Now we understand that that thing that we resist gets stronger, but the thing that we don't resist, it loses the power, and we reveal the Christ within us, recognizing that we have all power. And so Jesus understood that. This is also why when he was brought before Pontius Pilate, he remained silent. There's the awesome lesson in A Course in Miracles: in my defenselessness, my safety lies. He recognized that there was nothing to defend against anyone or anything, as he stood in this situation being falsely accused, as he stood in this situation that he did not want to experience, but he recognized that he would give more power and energy to it if he fought against it. So he said, "Come, friend," and then he remained silent because he knew he didn't have to defend anything. And so he goes through the ordeal and is on the cross. Now, it's out of that consciousness that then he could say these words: "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Now, I say it often because it's absolutely true. Forgiveness is a success principle. Forgiveness is a victory principle. If you want to live in victory in your life, if you want to have success, and if the situation that's present in your life now that feels like a cross experience, if you want to overcome, if you want to rise again, if you want to resurrect and reveal the Christ that is within you, that is being called forth in this moment, then you got to operate in this forgiveness place. And I love the teaching in A Course in Miracles. It says, every act of fear is a call for love. And we can say and know that everything that was done to Jesus, everything that Jesus experienced up until this moment, were acts of fear. And acts of fear means that these people were operating from a place of not knowing their God self, their Christ self, not knowing the love that is within them. And so he was able to stay and remain in the love that is who and what he is, and operate in forgiveness in the same way that we would if a young child is learning to walk and then falls. When a young child that has never walked before and is learning falls, we move into that loving, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do" place. And what we are being invited to do as we are in this adverse, unwanted situation, this cross experience, whatever it may be in your life, is to move into this place and hold this posture of recognizing that if they knew better, they would do better. Now, sometimes it's hard to hear that, right? Because You feel like they're grown. They should know better. But I got news for you. Anytime you hear in your mind, they should, or I should know better, or I should have done differently, that's the voice of the ego. Love never uses that word. Love never uses that word from that shame place. And so we can honestly and with an open heart say that if they knew better, they would do better. And so we're not fighting against reality, as Byron Katie loves to say, arguing against reality. We're recognizing that what is. But it is out of recognizing what is and not pushing against it that we access the unlimited power that is the Christ power that lives within us, right? And so then we go to the next saying. Truly, I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise. And this is honestly my favorite part, because this is something metaphysically that to me is kind of just hidden in plain sight, but it's so powerful. Now, as we're saying this is a blueprint for victorious living, one of the things we know is what? We've all heard it. Our point of power is in the present moment. We've all heard that we have to learn to live in the now. We've all heard or read or liked a quote on Facebook from Eckhart Tolle. We have come to CSC and you hear me talking about the present moment. You hear Pastor Yolanda talking about the present moment. And that's what this passage is dealing with. Now, of course, as you read it, you would say, well, what in the world does this have to do with the present moment, right? Truly, I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise. Well, let's look at what was happening. Who was Jesus talking to? Now, according to the story, and again, this is metaphorical, according to the story, Jesus is not crucified alone, but he is in between two thieves. And it's an interesting conversation that happens as we have this passage from Luke 23:43. In Luke 23, starting at verse 39, we read this. One of the criminals who were hanged railed at Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." And he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And he said to him, "Truly I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise." Okay, so what do the thieves represent metaphysically, metaphorically? Well, each thief, and it's the reason that Jesus was placed in the middle, one thief represents fear of the past, and another thief represents fear of the future. Now, why do we say that? Well, there's one thief that is focusing in on, look at what you did. You wouldn't be in this situation. You know, we deserve to be condemned. We deserve to be on this cross. Have you ever said that to yourself? I talked about this idea of should. It's the voice of the ego. Look what you did. You messed up again. That's the voice of one of the thieves, right? And that's that voice of the past that is condemning us. That is the voice of the past that's bringing up all of that old stuff. That's the voice of the past that wants to shame and blame us. That's the voice of the past, right? But then we have this other, the fear of the future. And this is the reason why the thief asked Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom," because he was scared. He was scared about the future. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know if I can overcome this. I'm in this cross experience. I'm in this adverse experience, and I don't know what will happen in the future, but maybe this guy can save me. And Jesus, representing the present moment, understanding what was really going on, could affirm beyond a shadow of a doubt, hear this, speaking to the fear within his own self, the fear of the past and the fear of the present, and say, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Right? Now, what's beautiful is the way the story plays out. If you go to the book of John, chapter 19, verse 32 through 33, there's something beautiful that happened. And it says this, it says, "So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who had been crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Now, what was that about? Well, crucifixion was a spectacle. But because of the soon coming Sabbath, they needed to make sure that they died on Friday so that they could be buried and have the proper burial according to Jewish custom. So they couldn't let them just linger on and just sort of die on their own. So what they would do if the person being crucified had not already died, then they broke their legs to basically create imminent death. So this is what happened with the two thieves. And symbolically, what this was showing us was that fear was destroyed. It was destroyed. And so the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who had been crucified with him, referring to the thieves. But then they came to Jesus and he was already dead. They could not break the legs because he had already overcome this fear of the past, already overcome this fear of the future. There was nothing to be broken. But the thing that needed to be broken was that very fear. That thing that needed to be broken was living outside of the present moment. Because when we're outside of the present moment, that's when we're in worry. That's when we're in doubt. That's when we're in fear. And so we move on. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. And this is from the book of John, 19:26-27. And what's interesting to me about this moment, it's an invitation for us as we have, again, in this cross experience, understanding that we must come to the now moment. And then what's beautiful is when we're in the now moment, there are things that we can see and things that we could acknowledge that we could never see or acknowledge when we're outside of the present moment, right? So one of the things is being divine and also human. Jesus was able to acknowledge the human experience in that moment, right? And I think this is important because, we talk a lot about our power and we talk a lot about who we are, but we are also human. Excuse me. And because we're human, our human relationships mean something and they matter. But beyond that, he recognized that beyond his humanness is a oneness. And so the reason why he could say to his disciple, woman, behold your son, and son, behold your mother, he was talking to his mother, who according to the story is his biological mother. It makes no sense why he could say that. But the reason why he could say it is because it was a recognition and an acknowledgement of the oneness of all things. That in truth, this mother who is his biological mother is actually the mother of his brother or his fellow disciple. And this disciple who was his brother is also the son of his mother. It's a recognition of unity. It's a recognition of oneness. Now, why is that important? Well, because the opposite of oneness is separation. And when we operate in separation, when we operate in an other, when we operate from this place of not recognizing that we're one family, when we operate in this place of thinking that there are multiple races when there's only the human race, humanity, when we operate in this place of an other and not realizing and recognizing and remembering that even on our scientific level, the DNA of plants and trees and animals and human beings only differs by a very small percentage. We recognize that there is a oneness, for we all come out of the one mind, the one source, the one presence. And you have to recognize that in order to move into the victorious place. Well, why is that? Because as everything is one and everything is connected, that's how you are able to call in and bring in the opposite experience. This takes us back to the law of polarity, as we understand it in the Kabbalion, that the tendency of life is towards the positive pole, but there is a positive and a negative pole, but they're the same pole. There's really only unity. And so unless you recognize that unity, you can never have the opposite experience. If you think that joy is somewhere separate from who you are and where you are, you cannot experience joy. and although you may be experiencing sadness, the reason you can move from sadness to joy is because they are part of the same whole, right? They're on the same pole. And again, this is the ancient Kemetic principle of polarity. And so out of this moment, this is what Jesus the Christ is recognizing in this cross moment, is recognizing oneness, right? He was not living in separation or selfishness and saying, that's my mother and only my mother, and y'all need to go away. He recognized this profound oneness. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. Okay. And then we move on. Now here, and I'm going to deal with both of these in the same way. My God, why have you forsaken me? We have this in Matthew and we have this in Mark. And after that, we also get I thirst, which is only in the book of John. And this is the very human moment of Jesus, right? And it's interesting, and I think this is important as we're talking about it being a blueprint. We talked about this idea that in the beginning, Jesus understood a lot. Before he even got to the cross, he was able to say, come friend, to Judas, and was able to walk into being arrested, standing firm, recognizing who and what he is. And we've all done that, right? Adversity shows up, some unwanted things shows up, and then we're able to remember our tools, and we're able to stand and affirm what is absolutely true, right? And we move forward, and some more things happen, but we can stand in that. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. I know who I am. I am the son of God. I am the daughter of God. I am the child of God. The Christ is who and what I am. And then maybe some more, the situation goes on a little longer, and you're on the cross, so to speak, and still you're able to stand in this profound place, as we talked about, this profound place of forgiveness. Oh, I forgive them. They know not what they do. And I'm able to stand in this profound place. You recognize that you're in the present moment, and the point of power is in the present moment. And so you're able to break the legs of the thief of fear of the past and fear of the future. And then you're able to move and stay in this place of oneness, recognizing that all things are connected. And it is because all things are connected that you're able to call in a new experience. But then something happens, because maybe this thing has gone on a little too long. You were able to hold on for a few days, a few weeks, but now you're in this, my God, why have you forsaken me? And you're in this I thirst place. And what's interesting about this, it brought me to the place of thinking about the emotional guidance scale, which we know if we've studied Abraham Hicks. If you want to go back to a message, I dealt with this scale in some good detail. Bless You Fear, which was based on the movie Finding Nemo. And we talk about the scale. And so if you look at the scale, we see that where Jesus had moved to in this story is he had moved into blame, he had moved into worry, he had moved into doubt, he had moved into discouragement. And that's something that we can all understand, and we know we've all been there. And I think it's important to note and recognize that even as we are having an experience, and although we may have started out positively, and although we may have started out knowing the truth, we may experience a downward spiral, but that's okay. Now, why is it okay? Because what's important is the way that we started. If you look at the way that he started this, there's actually more momentum behind that than any momentum around the why have you forsaken me and I thirst. The other thing that's important, and I already said it earlier, the tendency of life is towards the positive pole. That means that there's more energy in the universe. There's more thought in the universe that is moving towards the positive pole. So that means that if this was like a wave, at any point in time, you have the opportunity to jump back on the wave that will move you towards the positive pole. And it's beautiful, because what is the next saying that we get from Jesus? It is finished. And it is finished. If you look at the Greek, another way that that word is translated is it is accomplished. And when I hear that it is finished, and when I hear it is accomplished, it reminds me again of Abraham Hicks, who always is admonishing us that it is done. It is done. Everything that we want, the experience that we are seeking, the resurrection that we're seeking, if you will, in our life, in whatever the situation is, the thing that we want to rise again in our life is already a real and complete idea in the mind of God. And so what's powerful is by bringing his mind, or by bringing our mind back to this idea of it is finished, we now move ourselves back up the pole, back up from worry and blame and doubt, back into contentment, back into hopefulness, back into optimism, and back into positive expectation or belief. And as I was thinking about it, there was a quote from Abraham that I wanted to share. And this was a quote from 2011 on the Panama cruise. Abraham says this: "So what's your job? Relaxing. So what's your job? Trusting. So what's your job? Allowing. What does allowing mean? Allowing means it is done. It's been given. And in my allowing of it, in my receiving of it, I'm giving back." And that's powerful. In my allowing of it and in my receiving of it, I'm giving back. Now, why is that true? Because as we recognize that we are vibratory beings, we send out a signal. We are now giving a response to a signal to the universe so that it can respond to us. And so I want you to hear this, whatever you're experiencing right now. And I know that we all have things that may be going on in our lives. We all may have difficulties, unwanted things, adversity, problems, situations, challenges, whatever it may be. It's okay. You may have experienced and may be experiencing even now the "why have you forsaken me?" or the "I thirst" moment, right? Where you're feeling like you're in need of something and there's something wrong. And again, that's the discouragement, worry, blame, doubt, disappointment place, overwhelmment, frustration, and irritation. But the moment that you can bring yourself back to the reality that what you want is already a complete idea in the mind of God, it is finished. That is the place of victory. And you can come back to that place again, because all the work that you've done prior to that, it's not for naught. It isn't over with. And there's more momentum around that work, that initial belief. There's more momentum around those affirmations. There's more momentum around that knowing than this temporary moment of doubt, this temporary moment of worry, this temporary moment of fear. Because the tendency of the universe, and you are one with this universe, it's towards the positive pole. And so then as we recognize that, then we move into the place of surrender. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. What I love to say is that surrender is extraordinary trust. As you absolutely know that it is done, you can move into the place of allowing. As you move into the place of it is done, you move into the place of surrender. You move in the place of extraordinary trust, but not into an other, not into some external being. You are surrendering to the Father, Mother, Presence, principle that lives within you. And what's beautiful, if you think about this, when we're talking about the Father is your highest self. The Father is the place of where we move into, the realm that we move into after the ego has been crucified. Remember, I said Jesus was killed and crucified. The Christ was risen. And that's what we want. And I don't want to get too deep into that, because it's part of what we're going to talk about on Sunday, right? What actually is destroyed, what actually needs to be destroyed. Again, as I said, what is happening is you're not being tested, but what's happening is the outer shell. Think about a seed, and this is why Jesus uses the metaphor of a seed. A seed must go down in the ground, right? And what happens? It must be split open, right? The outer shell is like the ego. It must be split open and taken off so that the contents of that seed can it can develop the roots deep down and then become whatever that tree, that plant, that flower is. So something must die, yes, but recognize that it's not you, and recognize that you're not being tested. See, the idea of being tested, that's your ego's conversation, thinking that the ego is being tested. No, What is happening is the illusionary self that it was created, the illusionary self that was adopted, the part of you that is not real and never has been or never will be real, needs to be destroyed so that you can reveal, see, and know that you are eternal. So that you can reveal, see, and know that you are the Christ, so that you can reveal, see, and know that you are powerful, so that you can reveal, see, and know that you are prosperous and abundant, so that you can reveal, see, and know that all is well. And so when we look at the metaphor of this crucifixion experience, we recognize that this metaphor is a deep and ancient metaphor, and I talk about it often. If we look in our Eastern teachings, we'll know that this models the rising of the Kundalini energy, starting from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra. And in the story of Jesus, it's clear, in the crucifixion story, it's clear. In every account where it says that the crucifixion takes place at Golgotha, which means place of the skull. The crucifixion takes place in our mind. This is why Jesus and John the Baptist preached, repent, change your mind, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of Uranus. The kingdom of knowing is at hand, knowing who and what you truly are. And so as we recognize that this takes place in our mind, as we move that energy up through our chakras, as we come through the throat chakra and we move into our head, we move into the crown chakra, the king's chamber, the father's chamber. And so this is why this word father, I commit my hands, into your hands, I commit my spirit. We have now moved into the crown chakra, but recognize that as we move into that place of awareness and awakening or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, it is not a place in the sense that we think of it as a physical thing. It is an awareness, and it is awareness that we must come back to over and over again. And so the beauty of this moment is that the resurrection moment, this moment of death of the ego and resurrection of the Christ, you then take that energy and bring it back down to the root, and you come back up again. And so it is a constant experience. It is a constant expression of expressing and realizing the Christ within you. Because the ego is tricky. And where we may think we have killed the ego in certain circumstances, it will show up again. And so we must become vigilant. And that's why this is a blueprint. This is a blueprint for your vigilance. Now, I've said a whole lot. I want to hear from you all. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Again, recognizing that this is a metaphor for your life. This is a metaphor for your life. And so we have, it's 7:44, we have 15 minutes. So we have time for questions. Of course, I could go on and on and on. And I don't want to share too much because because we're going to talk about the resurrection on Sunday. And so if I get too deep into the resurrection, I'll be stepping on my toes from Sunday. So as we can see, as if you can comment or you have a question, all good. What this is, again, it's an absolutely awesome blueprint. And it's an absolutely awesome blueprint that if you think about your own life in this moment, start from this beginning phase, right? Okay, I recognize that I'm having a cross experience. I recognize that I'm having an unwanted experience. But I can start from this place of forgiveness. This is step one in the blueprint, right? Because I recognize that every act of fear is a call for love. And I recognize that forgiveness is a success principle. And I recognize that if I want to change and transmute and transform this unwanted experience that I'm in, resistance will not work. And so forgiveness is absolute absolute non-resistance. And forgiveness is a place of love. And love is the thing that can conquer all fear. Yes, yes. And love is miracles. A Course in Miracles teaches us miracles are an extension of love. And so if you're looking for a miracle in your life, if you want to experience a miracle, This is the place and space that you must move into, starting with forgiveness. But then we move into this other piece, and again, I said it's my favorite part, understanding that that conversation between the thieves and Jesus, as he says, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. He comes back to the now moment because we recognize that in our minds, the voice of the ego, that fear of the past, oh, all the stuff that you did, all of the stuff that you should have done, all of the stuff that you didn't do that brought you to this moment, and you want to shame yourself and you want to blame yourself. Or maybe it's not fear of the past, but it's fear of the future, because the situation that's happening, you're like, oh no, I don't know what's next. I've experienced this huge breakup and I don't know what's happening for me next. Will I be by myself? Will I be alone? Will I meet somebody? Am I too messed up to be in love? Right? I know what that feels like. I've been there, right? You're laid off from a job and you're looking for new work. And there's a lot of fear around what is the next position going to look like, or I haven't found my purpose or my passion, and how am I going to know how to move forward, right? The legs of those fears were broken. That's the Christ that does that, right? And it's by coming back into the present moment. I'm seeing a post. I really appreciate the idea that Jesus, the ego is what dies, and that the Christ within us is always what is needed to create our resurrection. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a powerful idea, right? The ego dies and the power rises. And then we have this beautiful idea of oneness. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. It is only out of recognizing and unifying with this principle of all is one. We think about even what's happening in the United States right now as we are, we will be electing a new president in November. A lot of what's going on right now, there's a lot of separation, and it's actually built into the process as we have separate parties and all these other things, right? And so we see what happens with separation. It creates ugly moments. It creates violence. It creates more division. It creates more fear. It creates arguments, all of these different things. But the power, and if we collectively as humanity would get this, we could change things. First, again, that forgiveness place, and then the present moment place, and then the all is one place. There's truly only one human family. And there's truly only one family in general, because each and every one of us come from the same source. We are unique. Yes, we're not the same, but we each come from the same source. And sometimes that's hard to hear or understand, but you don't question that when you think about your body. Your body is a microcosm, an expression of the reality of oneness. Your foot is unique. Your hand is unique. Your hands and feet are extremely unique, and yet they are one because they're part of the one body, right? Your own body. And then we can zoom in. You have trillions of cells, each and every one of them unique, doing their own things, doing their own job, and really aren't even aware of the external you, but they all come together to make up the one body that is you. If you want to understand the creator, look at its creation, look at yourself, and you'll begin to understand something very profound about yourself. Oneness, unity. And I guarantee that once we get that as a human family, we will solve and resolve every so-called challenge and issue that we've ever experienced on this planet. That is the key. But then what's beautiful, as this is a blueprint, we get to see something powerful. We get to see that, yes, we're spiritual people, but spiritual people move into doubt, fear, and worry too. Pastor Yolanda loves to say it, and I love the way she puts it, that yes, we as pastors, as ministers, we have those experiences too. We've just learned to bounce back quicker. That's all. Why? Because we use the tools. Why? Because we practice daily spiritual practice, which is not an option, what we say at CSC, so that we have a cup, a reservoir to drink from when life starts seeming crazy or weird, or we want to move into fear. And so that is what is being exemplified here as Jesus was in blame and doubt and worry and fear and disappointment and irritation. He was able to bounce back with a profound recognition that it is finished. The thing that I'm already seeking, that I'm seeking, is seeking me. The thing that I'm seeking, the change that I'm seeking, the miracle that I'm seeking, the transformation that I'm seeking, the money that I'm seeking, the partner that I'm seeking, the job that I'm seeking, the career that I'm seeking is already a complete idea in the mind of God. Come back to that moment and it shatters the fear. It shatters the desperation. It shatters the worry. It shatters the doubt. And then from there, we're in allowing. As I know it is already done. Father, Mother God within me, universe, life, power, that which knows all, sees all, and is all, possibility, divine intelligence, divine mind, into your hands, I commit my spirit. I surrender. I move into a place of extraordinary trust, and God, I let you be God in the situation. Because we recognize that God can only be to us and for us what we allow God to be through us. That's why we must get to this place of, into thy hands, I commit my spirit. And as we do that, the universe goes to work on our behalf. And the resurrection, the miracle, the transformation will take place in your life. So, my beautiful family, much love to you all. I just love doing this. I love being here with each and every one of you. Again, this is something that's been on my heart for a while. We may do it again next year, or we may rebroadcast this. I don't know. But I know that it is a profound teaching, and I know that this is something that we can absolutely apply to our lives. This Good Friday moment, this cross moment, is not about looking back at a historical moment, right? I'm going to let the scholars argue whether or not it really happened, or whether Jesus is real, or, all of that stuff, the literalism. We don't need to even focus on that, because underneath it is a story for us and about us. I know as surely as you are human and living this experience of life, you're having cross moments. I know as surely as you are human and living this life, you're having moments of doubt. You're having moments of fear. You're having moments of worry. But the beautiful thing is, our elder brother Jesus, which I love, of Course in Miracles refers to him that way, offered us a blueprint, offered us a way to live victoriously in any and every situation, in any and every situation. So again, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm just going to close this with a word of affirmative prayer. I look forward to seeing so many of you. Thank you for your love, Andrene and Cherie and Denise. I'm seeing your comments. We're going to close tonight. I look forward to seeing you all at CSC on Sunday. Pastor Yolanda and I are so excited. It is Easter Sunday. We're going to talk about resurrection. And we're going to continue to talk about your sinlessness, but also we're celebrating our 3rd anniversary, which is, it's just a huge, huge moment of gratitude for all of us. And so, again, I just appreciate you all. I appreciate you all, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Let's take a breath in this moment. Mother, Father, God, we stand here, we sit here in complete gratitude tonight. Grateful to remember and recognize the power that we have. Grateful to remember and recognize that it is the ego that must die so that we can reveal our greatest self, so that we can reveal our greatest life. We are so grateful and thankful to remember and know that we are not being tested. These cross moments in our lives, these moments of adversity, these moments where someone may be saying something or accusing us, and these moments where we don't have enough money, and these moments where we're looking for a new job, and these moments where we're having difficulty in our relationships, and these moments where we feel all alone, and these moments where fear, doubt, and worry are showing up. We're grateful to hear and know this truth that we are not being tested, but that this situation is calling greatness forward. the greatness that is already within us, the greatness that we may have let become latent or lazy because we forgot who and what we are. It is simply trying to end the ego, in the illusion, so that we can live in reality that we are powerful, that we can live in reality that we are abundant, that we can live in reality that we are more than enough, that we can live in reality that we are worthy, that we can live in reality that all things are possible, that we can live in reality that the dead can rise again, that we can live in reality that what is coming ahead of us will be greater than anything that we've experienced in the past, that we can live in reality that the past has cannot dictate the present, that we can live in reality that future fear does not dictate the present, that we can live in reality that we are loved beyond measure, that we live in reality that we are loved unconditionally, that we live in reality that all is well. We are so grateful and thankful for this recognition. And it is out of this recognition that we awaken the Christ within us. It is out of this recognition that we now can live from this place of Christ consciousness, living as the powerful beings that we are. We now leave the shell of the ego on the cross to be buried. And we now choose to walk through life victoriously. I am grateful for each and every person here on this broadcast with us tonight, and I'm grateful for each and every person that will hear this in the future, knowing that their lives have been changed as a result of this awesome, awesome awareness. We go now throughout our evenings different than when we walked in, and we go forward from a place of all is well, knowing that we are supported by the entire universe. We are supported by love. We release this word now in gratitude, and together we say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. Thank you again. Love you all, and I will see you all very soon. All right, be well.